and another incredible milestone in Australia's coming of age. I must admit, I'm a stranger here myself. I was only 5 when it all happened, but I have a guide. A whole lot of them, in fact. The tour organisers, the disc jockeys, the supporting players, the fans, all giving their first-hand account of Beatlemania and how it swept a nation. If you were there, it's an hour to revisit your youth. If you weren't there, after tonight, you'll wish you had been.
Please welcome the Beatniks!
1, 2, 3, 4! She was just 17, you know what I mean, and the way she looked was way beyond compare. Now I'll never dance with another, since I saw her standing there.
Well, I mean, I guess if you weren't around for the Beatles, that you may as well go along and see a copycat version. Those of us who are now 98 years old and were lucky enough to, be here at the time the Beatles happened, there's no desire to go and see the imitation when you've tasted the real thing. I think when Beatlemania happened in Sydney and in Australia, there was a generation just yearning to be united in their rebellion against old age. Beatlemania was a kind of an attack on the gerontocracy that ruled Australia.
I did but see her passing by, and yet I love her till I die.
You have to remember the incredible conformity of Australia at that time. Spaghetti came in tins. All telephones were black. To unravel ladies' underwear, you needed a PhD. Things are different now, and the first symbol of that difference was the Beatles.
And this is a Monday morning view of Park Road, where 9 families have all proved that Rinso puts brand new brightness in whites and colours. All these ladies, the young and the almost young, trust Rinso for perfect results time after time.
We lived in a very rigid, conservative country, but somewhere over there, girls were screaming at pop stars. People were playing guitars and being wild and, hairy and crazy. And when the Beatles arrived in Australia, at the peak of their popularity and at the, as Beatlemania was exploding across the world, we felt for the first time that we were actually plugged in to the rest of the world.
Thank you very much, folks. Thank you. Thank you very much, and good evening. How are you? All right? Good. Well, we'd like to carry on now with a song which we recorded not very long ago. The song is called All My Loving. Close your eyes and I can see tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. I'll pretend that I'm kissing the lips I'm missing, and hope that my dreams will come true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my miss you. Tomorrow I miss you. Remember, I'll always miss you. And then while I'm away, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. All my loving, all my loving, all my loving, I will send to you. Thank you, folks.
Right now, I feel like French. Something creamy. Laurie's cooking sauce, French Dijonnaise. I may never eat out again.
Laurie's, the source of great French cuisine.
It's a spectacular musical, a mind-blowing rock concert, and an unforgettable theater experience, all rock and rolled into one. Buddy. It's the wildest night out you've had in years. Buddy, if you miss this show...
We interrupt this program with a news flash. On July 2nd, Buddy must leave Melbourne to start its New Zealand season. No extension is possible.
Buddy, the smash hit musical is leaving. This is your last chance. Buddy must close July 2nd. Book now.
One handful of M&Ms is never enough. It's the combination of deliciously different chocolate in a crisp candy shell. Real melt-in-the-mouth material.
Copperite super low prices save you money every day. Stylish new coffee tables have been slashed to $149. And this dining table is a super low $195. Matching chairs just $49.50. But only at Copperite now.
I'm special.
How do I know she thinks I'm special?
So special.
Because she always feeds me my dog. There's nothing as special as my dog. All meat my dog. Select cuts of meat, specially prepared.
That's good.
For special dogs.
So special.
Nothing's as special as my dog.
Strange things happen.
I'll see it again.
When you're hooked on Hey Hey.
When did you come up with the idea to be a fish? I was drunk.
Saturday, Dave Graney, Desiree and Dragonfly.
We're having some fun here tonight.
Plus our lookalike winners.
She got a dicky knee.
Hey Hey, live on 9.
The whole of Australia had been waiting for this event. Perhaps we will never know why. It was just as though the Messiah was coming. And as a result, it was an extraordinary experience. Even an hour before, I felt it myself that this was something that was going to be revolutionary in the world of rock music.
Teenagers running to the tarmac here at Melbourne Airport to greet the Beatles. Paul McCartney, the first from the plane. And here comes John Lennon.
The Beatles! They're here!
And it was pouring. Don't know if you remember. It was lashing down. And they had this plan. They said, well, all your fans are there. They've suffered the rain, so you've got to go and wave to them. You know, you can't just bomb into the building. So we said, oh, all right, you know, it's fair enough, we've got it. So we're coming around on this open truck, going around the perimeter fence of the airport, waving, you know. Pretty freaked out. It was a long journey anyway.
The downpour continued as the truckload of Beatles roared off the tarmac. The boys were drenched right through to the skin and gladly climbed into waiting saloon cars for the ride back to the hotel. And by this time, interest was shifting to the hotel, the Sheraton in King's Cross, where crowds had started to gather. Not that the crowd saw very much of the Beatles. Drenched, tired and ready for bed, they flashed past the fans in a cavalcade of cars and drove right in before they got out. The fans mobbed the entrance to the hotel, but police were there too and moved across to hem them in. Inside, the Beatles rested. They faced more public appearances in the afternoon when press conferences were scheduled. But for stand-in Jimmy Nicol, the chance was too good to miss. Ringo's ring-in left almost incognito to visit his relatives. An assurance has been given that police will do everything in their power to help the fans see the Beatles. This is Brian Bury, National Network News, Sydney.
I was in Adelaide for their arrival. The weather there was glorious, and that was the first time that I became conscious of the effect of Beatlemania on the entire population, because coming in from the airport in Adelaide into their hotel was a cavalcade of cars, and the people were lined 4 deep on each side of the road, all the way in. All the way in. I'd never seen anything like it. For the first time you could imagine what royal visits were like, with the Queen driving, and how we used to line up as school kids to wave. Well, it was exactly like that.
But I got to tell you, the Queen never drew as many people, and certainly never as many devoted people as the Beatles did. And of course, as I think George pointed out in one of the Sydney press conference, perhaps Her Majesty should cut some good records.
I went to a convent right in the heart of Adelaide in Victoria Square, and the nuns were very strict. We used to start school earlier and later than anyone else. And it was so heavy that we thought we'd never be able to see them, because we knew they were coming to the town hall and appearing on the balcony, you see. But if we had a letter signed by both our parents, we could do it. My mother, of course, signed, and then had to sign for my father. She forged his signature. And I went. Stood there with, I think, 300,000 people it was in the Guinness Book of Records, but I was one of them.
I think that what teenagers got out of Beatlemania, particularly girls, was this incredible sense of release. I mean, to be a teenager in 1964 in Australia, the most radical thing you could conceivably do would be to stand in a public street and scream at the top of your lungs. And to do that, and to maybe push against police barricades, and to refuse the instructions of the order of the day, people in uniforms, to move on, was an adrenaline rush that can't be described, particularly when you had, TV commentators standing there and saying pompously, "Mother, if your daughter is out there, you should be ashamed."
Not a mother, a father, and a length and breadth of this country that shouldn't take a very, very good lesson from this. The stupidity of letting their children come into something like this and run the risks which they are all running must be hitting home very hard at this time.
And it wasn't terrible at all. It was quite wonderful, and everyone was infected by the excitement of it all. It was new. It had never happened in Melbourne, not even in the Olympic Games.
Now, I guess this is sort of like the manual of how to try to be a fan and try to get to your thing. Look, there you go. I go over the thing, pretend I've been run over, hoping that they'll actually ask me and put me in the car. That doesn't look, I'm actually nearly throwing up over the windscreen there. Right, so let's get around the back, and hello, they're going, so what can we do now? Okay, pretend we're part of the security, hold everyone back. Come on, Molly, be real. Oh, that was when I was Ian, sorry.
People were fainting, and I guess I should have been scared. Just people were screaming out and yelling out for them, and oh, there I am with my camera, and there's my former husband, John, there with me, and I think he was trying to protect me because I was trying to film and trying to keep people away. I'm sure Paul waved to me and smiled at me. I'm sure he saw me in that crowd, because I just had that feeling, but it was just, oh, it brings it all back, and you can see by the quality of the film that I was being jostled, people were pushing me. It was just so exciting. I was just awestruck.
Luckily, I thought, at times while I was in that crowd, I thought, oh, I hope Mum's not watching this, but now I look at it, she probably couldn't have picked me out anyway. Although I was wearing a bright colour. But my mum was at home watching this thinking, aren't I glad that my girl isn't there? Look, see? Oh, isn't that nasty? Oh, scary.
Well, take it up, baby, now. Take it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby, now. Come on, baby. Come on and work it on out. Work it on out. Well, work it on out. You know you look so good. So good. You know you've got me going now. Me going. Just like a new
Right now, I feel like an Indian curry. And not too hot, mind you. Laurie's cooking sauce. Indian korma curry. I may never eat out again.
Laurie's, the source of great Indian.
Right now, Brashers are bringing you fantastic deals on a fantastic range of the world's best music. You win, we win. Save $34.95 on the world's best jazz collection 2 CD pack. $10 off a huge range of top-selling CDs, just $19.95. This year's Best Buy. Plus massive savings on high-quality audio and videotapes.
Everyone's a winner, baby, that's the truth. That's the truth. Brashers never fail to satisfy.
Brashers.
There are times in a sore throat when bacteria can be a real problem. Left untreated, these bacteria can rapidly grow from thousands to millions in just a few hours. This is where Strepsils comes in. The proven double antibacterial action in Strepsils kills the bacteria and inhibits their growth. Taken every 2 to 3 hours, Strepsils works.
Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Michael Biehn, Jason Priestley, Billy Zane, and Charlton Heston.
That's Wide Earth.
They say every town has a story. Tombstone has a legend. Tombstone.
New on video at Premier Home Entertainment.
Milky Way keeps them going until dinner without ruining their appetites. Delicious milky centre, whipped till it's light and fluffy, then coated in milk chocolate.
Race you in? I'll beat ya. Oh, yeah, sure. Milky Way, lovely, mate. Very thoughtful of you, Mrs. Freeman. Absolutely.
The treat you can enjoy between meals without ruining your appetite.
Sunday night at the movies. The motion picture blockbuster.
Batman Returns.
Meow.
The Bat.
Who's the man behind the bat?
Michael Keaton.
The Cat.
Hear me roar.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
The Penguin.
Gotta fly.
Danny DeVito. Batman's greatest challenge.
You're not the mayor.
A fiendish new villain, a lover dressed to kill.
How could you? I'm a woman.
Batman Returns.
8:30 Sunday on 9.
On the block of stone, was over in the corner whipping all alone. One said, "Everybody, don't you be no square."
It was funny. I heard that Leather was in overseas, you know, it was the go for rock and roll singers, so I decided I'd be the first Australian to wear a leather suit. And of course, when the Beatles got out here, they said that leather was out. So there you go.
All you did was you go into the concert in the 60s and you wanted to scream from beginning to end.
It was actually very helpful because if we were a bit out of tune or weren't singing that great, all those seagulls that you could hear, there was really girls screaming. It sounded like it was seagulls or something. It covered a lot of our sins, you know, so it wasn't always bad.
Roll over, Beethoven. Roll over, Beethoven. Roll over, Beethoven.
They actually measured the sound coming out of the Wellington Town Hall as equivalent to a Boeing 707 flying at 60 feet.
Second time I caught you talking to him. Do I have to tell you one more time? Think it's a sin. I'm gonna let you down. Let you down. Leave you flat. Gonna let you down and leave you flat. Because I told you before.
Staggering stories told about myself and the things that I was supposed to have got up to at the time. Who knows how these things even start?
I'm interested that it's taken 30 years for an almost obsession with the Beatles' sex lives. I think I made one comment some years ago that I was surprised there weren't a lot of little Beatles everywhere, and there was certainly a lot of girls knocking on doors. There were hotels where a girl would just knock on... They seemed to see me as a sort of conduit to the Beatles. And they'd say, look, we're from the country, we're in room so-and-so. If the Beatles want to see us, we're there.
We did dance closely, but that's... I couldn't comment on anything else. No, it's too far in the past.
Did I procure for the Beatles? Was that my job? No. And nor was anybody on the tour required to do that. If anybody did that kind of thing, it was the Beatles' own entourage.
The 60s, this was exciting, this was new. It was like new to them as what it was to us. They were having the fun touring. And, I mean, just like us, I think they were just out for a great time. And, I mean, everything was handed to them on a plate. Like, women were just bashing down doors to get in to meet them. They had everybody just at their whim, you know, giving them whatever they want. And why not have a good time? I mean, everything was there for a good time, and everybody just partied. It was, like, phenomenal.
I was a 15-year-old virgin, 15 and a half really, and I could think of nothing better than being chased around the Southern Cross Hotel by Paul McCartney, really.
I never got invited to a Beatles party. I knew I had a friend who had a fling with John Lennon. I was a bit envious, but I was happy to look from afar.
I was very surprised about Jenny Key's revelation because I was actually involved in 2 meetings that she had with John Lennon.
That's the friend.
I used to tell people off the record about Jenny Key, who became subsequently a very famous designer. So I was surprised, having kept my peace all these years, to find 5 years ago, Jenny Key says, I slept with John Lennon.
On Burke's Backyard, the vibrant colours of new season camellias. Check out the Real House of Horrors, devoted Balinese felines, and rugby union's greatest.
Capizzi, that's the world record!
Burke's Backyard, Friday, 7:30, Channel 9.
Milky Way keeps them going until dinner without ruining their appetites. Delicious milky centre, whipped till it's light and fluffy, then coated in milk chocolate.
Race you in! I'll beat ya. Oh, yeah, sure. Milky Way, lovely, Mum. Very thoughtful of you, Mrs. Freeman. Absolutely.
The treat you can enjoy between meals without ruining your appetite.
Remember when the new phone company started up? Deregulation at last, competition's here. Big savings on the mobile phone bill, I thought. So I changed over. I filled out the form, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've been checking my mobile phone bill. I didn't think there were any big savings. Last night, to be sure, I compared them with Telecom MobileNet. Spent a couple of hours crunching the numbers. I mean, what a waste of a couple of hours. Saw a lot of figures, didn't see any big savings. I mean, all that time to maybe save a couple of bucks, maybe not. I've got better things to do.
At Telecom MobileNet, we thrive on the competition. To save you time, we'll prepare an analysis against our competitors' rates.
Sure, no problem.
Then you be the judge. Phone 018 018 050. Put us to the test.
I
am special.
How do I know she thinks I'm special?
So special.
Because she always feeds me my dog. There's nothing as special as my dog. All meat my dog. Select cuts of meat, specially prepared.
That's good.
For special dogs.
So special.
Nothing's as special as my dog.
If you're on the lookout for comfort, all you have to do is follow Rolly, because when it comes to softness, he always feels at home with Purex. Purex toilet tissue, it's strong on softness. What a cushy job.
Australia's #1 footy show is next. Then after Nightline, we cross to the UK for Wimbledon '94.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, the next number will have to be our last number for tonight. So yes? Oh, yes.
I realised I was a bit strange when, you know, at Festival Hall I'd be there screaming out, I love you, John, I love you, Paul. I mean, maybe it was my turning point in my life.
When we got into the concert, something happened that really took me by surprise, and that is that Ian started to scream and squeal like a girl. Now, to see a guy screaming like a girl is very unusual. To see lots of girls all, going crazy was one thing. And I got really concerned for him because he was hyperventing and it was quite frightening. A St John's ambulance guy came up to us and said, I think I better take you out to Ian. And I got up and said, I think he'll be okay, I'll settle him down. So I settled him down. And then Ian got worse. So the St John's ambulance guy came back and said, I'm going to have to remove you from the stadium. And I got up and I must have had my fist clenched, which looked like I was going to punch this guy, but I wasn't really. I must have just had my hand like that. And the security guard saw this and got our arms and twisted them up our back, mine and Ian's, and then threw us out the door.
I was kicking that door, screaming, let me back in, Because the song, ironically, that I liked so much wasn't actually a Beatles song, it was Long Tall Sally, which Paul McCartney sang at that time. And I was just devastated there. I could hear this, refrains of this inside, and I was outside.
And Ian just lost it. I thought we were going to have to take him to hospital. He was screaming and banging on the door, and it was a sight to see.
Their manager, Brian Epstein, told a National Press Club luncheon today that he hoped he would be able to return to Australia with the Beatles if they could maintain their present popularity here. Mr. Epstein was not able to give a date, but he thought it would be at least a year before they would be coming back.
I immediately think of a kind of Woodstock in wheelchairs, that I think by trying to reunite the Beatles and reinvent Beatlemania, I think it's a triumph of nostalgia over common sense. They were of their time, they were completely fantastic. The only motive for reuniting the Beatles today is mercenary.
If they reform, what are they going to do? Are they going to be cutting edge? Are we going to get, a techno dance hit out of them? Or maybe, a contemporary rap song or something like that? Of course we're not. We're going to get sweet harmonies and a sort of sense of déjà vu. It's just going to be another exercise in nostalgia. And it's going to basically undermine the most significant thing about them, which of course was that they, for their entire career, remained at the cutting edge of popular music, inventing that cutting edge as they progress.
I would hate to see them going out on the road. I really would. I just don't think that's. I mean, Floyd, okay, and other bands, even the Eagles, but I just would hate to see the Beatles without John Lennon. That would not be the Beatles without John Lennon.
You're really looking at the people, right?
Yeah, sure. You're very aware of everything around you.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to be. You might get shot.
That was special. That was the 60s, and I'm glad I lived through it, and I don't think that will happen again.
So I don't think it was so much them.
as much as it was us. I think the phenomenon had a lot to do with our innocence and the way we wanted to see. Maybe the Beatles, as talented as they were and as bright and fresh and vital as they were the right people in the right place at the right time for our coming of age.
Let's not underestimate the importance of them. They were important, but I don't think that you can really lay the claim that they changed Australia.
Well, they changed me, and I'm an Australian, so perhaps they did change Australia.
Well, that about says it all. They won't be playing God Save the Queen tonight. The Australia of 1964 is just a memory, gone forever, thanks to 4 young blokes with funny accents, funny suits, funny hair, and a funny knack for changing our lives. Good night.
Why did we love the Beatles? Answer, because they were young when we were young.
The Beatles, a fabulous time in my life that you look back and you smile.
They were a very important part of my life. I love them.
Four young natural boys who suddenly stepped into my life and, in a way, changed everything forever.
I think that it was the first time I ever did anything really bad that my mother told me I shouldn't do.